People have probably heard about this debate, Norm Finkelstein versus Rabbi Shmuley. We'll get into Rabbi Shmuley for those who don't know him prior to this, but this is, I think, a pretty good, like a good demonstration of the quality of the different arguments on the anti-Israel and pro-Israel side.
Here we go.
Israel stops obliterating Gaza and killing so many innocent people in the process, or I'm not sure what the alternative is. How do you read where we are with this war?
There are many ways to read it. You can read it politically, you can read it militarily, you can read it strategically, or you can read it from the point of view of human rights and international law, so long as it bears on human rights. Now, when it comes to the very last consideration, I think it's very clear how we should read it. Namely, the International Court of Justice, the supreme judicial body in the world, has said that Israel is under two obligations. Obligation number one is to honor the laws of war in what it's doing in Gaza. And obligation number two, Israel has to provide humanitarian aid and assistance to the people of Gaza. Those are its two obligations under international law. The court also ruled that Israel is plausibly committing genocide, and there is no evidence whatsoever, zero evidence, that since the court ruling, Israel has changed its tactics or its strategy in Gaza. So as of now, as we speak, Israel is still, by the conclusion of 15 judges in the International Court of Justice, 15 of the 17 judges, Israel is committing genocide or plausibly committing genocide, and it's not honoring its obligations as they were spelled out by the International Court of Justice.
Okay.
So a very clear, dispassionate legal case there from Norm Finkelstein. I think you'll all agree. I don't even know if we have any notes.
I was surprised that, he didn't even come out and say it's not a war, it's a genocide, but he did so. He was cognizant of the audience that he's attempting to reach, and he gave a clear, sober analysis of the facts of the situation. Rabbi Shmuley, I'd imagine.
Let's go to the Zionists.
Was he Michael Jackson's spiritual leader?
So yeah, I believe that was his initial claim to fame. Maybe there was some before that, but yeah, he was.
Now he's top Zionist on media.
Yeah, top Zionist. Smear and Ilhan Omar. I mean, we'll get to that. Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard likes him though. So like.
The anti-war guys.
Among crank Democrats, he's also loved. Among crank Zionist Democrats, he's big with them too. But yeah, here is the response. Let's not prejudge it, guys. This might be we might get some. Look, maybe our bubble is about to be punctured. Yeah. Maybe our bubble.
Let the ideas come clash here. There's a rational, meeting of ideas here.
This is the Enlightenment.
Rabbi Shmuley, you tweeted this morning when we booked you for this debate. You called Norman Finkelstein an anti-Semite. You said, "You have my word that God willing, I will digitally decapitate, digitally disembowel, and digitally destroy him." Do you think that was the right kind of rhetoric before you try and debate such a serious matter?
First of all, thank you for having me back, Pierce. It's nice to see you. And Norm, I hope you don't mind if I call you Norm. You can please call me Shmuley. Norman Finkelstein is on the show for only one reason. If the journalistic idiom that Jews are news is true, because Israel's this big, it gets this much attention, then how much more so Jewish anti-Semites get the brightest headlights. Norman Finkelstein is the foremost Jewish anti-Semite on planet Earth. He actually attacked his own parents, whose only crime was to be Jewish. Their entire family was annihilated in Warsaw. They're not victims. They hated Germans and wanted them dead. He didn't think to himself, maybe my parents wanted the Germans to suffer to stop the war, to break the will of the German people, to stop murdering, gassing 10,000 Jews per day. His hatred of the Jewish people.
I'll just say that's a pretty uncharitable characterization of, I think, the pretty deliberate way Norm has dealt with the Holocaust memory that lives within his own family and what he's
pretty presumptuous
now. Yeah, it's gross, one might say.
Yeah,
it sounds like very good faith so far. Yeah. I would say,
and
definitely.
I fucking sided with your parents, dude.
I don't even know if he.
Yeah, I know, but like he's getting.
Yeah.
What is this? His initial first statement? This is his first statement.
This
We're
is the
going
beginning.
for Norm's. Norm's not a good son.
Yeah.
I like how stony faced Norm is through all this too. I would be like, what? I would be like, what? This is what I'm doing today. Really?
I mean, this is why he
with
is
this guy.
He is the greatest righteous asshole in media right now, as Matt has referred to him. Like Norm, and I say that affectionately. Norm takes no crap and does not care at all about offending people who are defending this genocide.
There's the famous clip of him saying, the crocodile tears clip.
Yes.
Right. And like that is, there's a certain time where actually assholery is called for, and
Right.
over like coddling is actually aiding and abetting.
Yeah.
Has extended even to his own family. He calls Israel a satanic state that comes from the boils of hell. He calls it a vandal state. He said that the 15 people murdered in the Charlie Hebdo massacres, he has no sympathy for them whatsoever. But this is the most telling thing of all, and you discussed this the last time. He said, on October 7th, hours after the massacre of 1,200 Jews started, he wrote, "It warms every fiber of my soul to see the children of Gaza smiling as their arrogant Jewish supremacists that have been humbled. The stars above in heaven are looking down. Glory, glory, hallelujah." Let's just go through this. 400 women shot in the genitals, their breasts cut off as terrorists played with their bloody breasts like a football. Glory, hallelujah.
So yeah.
You know what Okay, first of all, if you were going to disembowel somebody, or if you were going to cut off somebody's tits, let's be clear about what tits look like, folks. They are not football shaped. I'm not sure what saggy shit he's looking at. They are more round than they are like an egg, like a football egg.
Emma, do you think we should save this for ESPN?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Just to give people a sense, you'd be throwing the breasts.
Fantasy Football League. Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, let's do a draft of what sports the cutoff breast, the made-up cutoff breast, would be better suited for. And I would say baseball, then soccer. I mean, football would be on the bottom of the list.
This
there.
man is going on television and repeating what is such a historical lie that it hasn't even gained traction on like Twitter anymore.
I know. I haven't heard this side.
This is a large fraction of the total number of victims on October 7th that would have been, I guess, providing sporting equipment. That is. And there's no evidence for that. Like there's like one bit of testimony that isn't backed up by any other people in that vicinity. So it is a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah,
it's a lie.
I think that's why it's obviously like a horrific thing he's saying. But the reason I think we make light of it is because he's such a propagandist that it's basically impossible to take anything this guy says at face value.
Yeah.
So we'll skip ahead about 90 seconds of again, just clear at hum and let Piers Morgan try to get control of the interview here.
He said Norman Finkelstein is a psychotic. He's not on your show because he's a serious academic. Wolfgang Benz, professor of...
Oh, that was the Douglas Murray thing.
Oh, okay.
Douglas Murray is a serious academic, so he's not on this show. So Rabbi Shmuley has to be on, which is actually a good bit of a self-awareness by Rabbi Shmuley. Like, I'm even less serious than Douglas Murray.
Yeah, well, Douglas Murray is not a serious academic anyway.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Of Ellingen, who was one of the foremost German historians of the Holocaust, said the only thing interesting about Norman Finkelstein is that he needs a psychiatrist.
Okay, well, look.
Professor Wolfgang... Wait, Professor Wolfgang...
I want to just ask you this, though. It's interesting. Norman Finkelstein gave I thought, a pretty measured argument and response to my first question. You've gone ad hominem immediately and attacked the man, not the issue, and not the question that I asked you, which is to respond to what he was saying, which is a growing feeling around the world, by the way, that Israel is now committing, as he put it, as the court said, a plausible genocide. I don't happen to think it is genocide they're doing.
Damn
what
it,
I do
Piers,
think
we're
is happening
close.
is that there is a shameful number of innocent women and children being slaughtered on a daily basis, and I don't see what the end game is other than the obliteration of most of Gaza and many people living there. So to answer that point,
So let me answer your question directly. First of all, when you quote President Lula of Brazil, he is a criminal.
So just ad hominem of other people. We're gonna go.
Does Norm respond? What is? I need to just hear what Norm says to this. Again, he's so stoic here. So I guess Shmuley talks more ad hominems, and Norm, this is what I guess he had to say in response.
Not committing a genocide, and they said they would not stop the Israeli offensive. That is a straight out lie.
okay, well, all right. Well, if you're going to call, if you're going to call him a liar, amongst other things you called him, I'm going to go back to Norman Finkelstein and get him to respond to that.
Would you like me to respond now?
Yes, please. Yeah, I think it's reasonable. You should. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what was the purpose to inviting either me or Mr. Shmuley to this program, because obviously we are on two entirely different wavelengths. Mr. Shmuley is in the business, which is not surprising, of character assassination. He's in the business of libel. That's his job, because where he have to confront the facts, he would be in a very difficult situation. So let me make one clarification. None of my remarks bear on my personal opinions. I simply am repeating what the documentary record shows. Now, according to Mr. Shmuley, I am a liar because, according to Mr. Shmuley, the International Court of Justice explicitly concluded that Israel was not committing a genocide. Now, I would say that Mr. Shmuley is suffering from what I would call a Judeo-dementia, because there is no possibility on earth that any rational human being could have read the opinion or the ruling rendered by the International Court of Justice after the South Africa application and after the oral proceedings. There's no possibility on earth that any rational person can conclude that the International Court of Justice ruled that Israel was not committing a genocide.
Yeah, so that's well done. But yes, Norm is Norm is so good in his delivery. It never fails. Like, I mean, I still sometimes when I'm in a bad mood go and rewatch his Democracy Now! Debate with Alan Dershowitz, where he not only dismantles his ideas about Israel, but fully dismantles his professional career by point pointing to the fact that he plagiarized much of his book, which was I'd encourage everybody to look that up. It's from the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's a classic. It's kind of funny, like Piers Morgan is kind of a weird character, because he seems like somewhat genuinely curious about this, like he's trying to figure this out. But he also seems to want to do like a Jerry Springer type show too, where he wants
good ratings.
He wants.
There's a little bit of Memento style, like, oh crap, I have heard the argument against the sort of response to the Zionist propaganda before from a different like pro-Palestine guy, but it hasn't really fully sunk in.
Yeah, right. There's still
He's got to do the tattoos. He's checking his tattoos in the mirror. You know, what was this again?
Like occupied territories? What's this?
Yeah.
It's difficult to disentangle. I mean, I think we were talking about it with the professor on Monday, just how in academia and like when analyzing colonialism or imperialism from the perspective of the U.S. or the West, and I think British exceptionalism takes place there, or Western exceptionalism for Piers, that's just so difficult to disentangle. Like, even though all of the facts indicate Israel is committing genocide, I cannot emotionally allow myself to get to that place because it flies in the face of every perception I have about liberal democracy and like what my country stands for.
Right.
And that is one of the like biggest hurdles people have to overcome. And I think, at least from my perspective, from what I've seen, that's harder the older the person is that you're speaking to, because they're less willing to challenge some of those myths.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, and we'll go into a little bit of Rabbi Shmuley's history of just being a smear artist, as Finkelstein says. But yeah, like even you'll see certain people will respond to like, well, America vetoed that ceasefire resolution, but they proposed their own that said, we want the hostages back and stuff like that. And it's like, do you really how do we interpret that? Do we interpret that as I do, as America is doing the bare minimum to save face as it supports a genocidal campaign? Or do we really genuinely think that the entire rest of the world wants a ceasefire that is like supportive of terrorism, and America's the only one that cares about hostages? Like, how diluted are we? But
apparently
you
a
need
lot.
to be a certain degree of diluted, or you won't be, as the Chomsky model, you won't be promoted to these positions. But the history of this Rabbi Shmuley guy, it's kind of interesting. He's often in the media here. He took out this ad in the Washington Post. Blah, blah, blah. The Jews control the world with their money, blah, blah, blah. Next to a picture of Ilhan Omar. Of course, Ilhan Omar never said that. That is not a quote that Ilhan Omar ever said. And
she said Israel has hypnotized the world, which was accused,
facts.
which is true. I mean,
look at what's happening right now.
Right.
Like I
mean that Israel's at least hypnotized the United States.
The influence of influencing our politics against progressives and along lines that aren't even to do with Israel. And yeah, exactly. Like this is why. It's definitely hypnotized the West. I guess we could say that. It's all about the Benjamins' money, baby. It's supposed to be like, we remember
AIPAC is the most successful lobby in this country.
Yep.
It has a 98% success rate in terms of the candidates that it supports, and it's incredibly well financed. And an overwhelming majority, it's just a few dozen of our current elected representatives in the Senate and the House, just a few dozen who don't take Israel lobby money. Think about that for a second. So it's not anti-Semitic, it's just facts, bro. If that were the case with Saudi money, if that were the case with, I don't know, like any other kind of interest. I mean, there was a mistranslation of Ilhan Omar speaking at a Somali event, and they said, and Marjorie Taylor Greene immediately was saying that she's in the pocket of big Somalia. It's ridiculous.
I also just want to, go ahead, RM.
No, I was going to say I saw that speech, a lot of the kind of wackier right-wing media covered that, and they really had to stretch to scare their audience with that one,
Yeah, exactly.
So Shmuley Boteik has interesting. He shows up, as I said, like he not only around Michael Jackson, but also Tulsi Gabbard was with this guy when he was promoting his like Warrior for Israel book or whatever it was called. And also the challenger to Joe Biden, a guy who is wants to issue a challenge to the duopoly because he thinks Joe Biden is A, like too pro-vax, and I guess B, not Zionist enough. Here is Rabbi Shmuley talking to Robert Kennedy Jr.
For a moment, please. No, you don't believe, and I don't believe. Criticizing.
Just refreshing it because I guess it was midway through. Here we go. Stupid Instagram player.
Do you want to address that for a moment?
So
Starts.
Please.
Yeah, we'll just keep going. What does it say at the beginning?
it's about the squad.
Okay.
Oh, you don't believe, and I don't believe. Criticizing Israel makes somebody anti-Semitic. But I'll tell you what does make you anti-Semitic. If you're criticizing Israel and using a different standard to judge other governments and other people, and that is revealing of something insidious. And unfortunately, the individuals that you talk about do that. They use a different standard for Israel than they do to judge the neighboring countries and to judge almost any country in the world. And so that is not an unbiased view. That is a biased view, and that bias is called bigotry.
Bigotry and anti-Semitism. That's an anti-Semitic standard where you judge Israel not just by a different standard, but by an impossible standard, almost as if Israel should never even protect its citizens.
I like how Shmuley added a soundtrack to that as well. Yeah.
And these are leading lights of the Democratic Party today, Rashida Tlaib, Ilan Omar, who are openly anti-Semitic. I mean, do you want to address that for a moment, please?
No, you don't.
So that was the question. Thank you for that. Response, R.M. Brown. Did Shmuley, Rabbi Shmuley, win you over?
Oh yeah, I'm a Shmuley fan now after that one. You know what? Mostly because of that soundtrack. It was the kind of epicness of it, and I hope he added that because he
peaked my heart rate with that. I'm checking my watch now. I'm at like 144 because I'm so excited about how the squad is secretly. Man.
Did Ridley Scott direct that Instagram video? Because I'm ready to go to battle now for the IDF.
Can we talk
to
about
kill some kids?
This? And I will give props to Greenwald. I think he's been consistent on this. But like a lot of during this October 7th thing, a lot of these people who go on and on about cancel culture and all this shit, like Joe Rogan or Bobby Kennedy, smearing people, criticizing Israel as anti-Semitic. I mean, you know. It just has to be said.
Exactly. Let's read some IMs and then we'll get to some more clips in a second. Trilly Flop says Shmuley describing breasts like he was the 40-year-old virgin. Kyle J says maybe he meant soccer ball. Don't they call soccer football in Europe? Either way, ridiculous. Yeah, that would puncture my joke a little bit. Dan from Columbus, I'm shocked that the author of Kosher Sex isn't able to better explain the female anatomy. I guess he had a book called that.